Hello everybody, I am Joost Joustra and I work at the National Gallery as the Howard and Roberta Ahmanson Fellow in Art and Religion. Today I would like to look at angels with you. Angels are spiritual beings that are believed to act as helpers, agents or messengers of God in many of the world's religions. Angels are usually represented in human form with wings. We also use the term angels to refer to a person who is exceedingly kind or helpful. Many of us have encountered such angels, and their wings are usually not visible. If you search for angels in the National Gallery's collection database, 281 pictures show up, so it seems that the National Gallery is full of angels. It was therefore not easy to make a choice, but I have selected 5 of my favorite painted angels in the National Gallery. The first picture I'd like to take a look at with you is Francesco Botticini's The Assumption of the Virgin, painted in Florence in the 1470s. The picture is absolutely massive. If you look at it a bit more closely, at the bottom you can see the apostles gathered around an empty tomb. But the tomb is not exactly empty. There's flowers blooming. These are lilies. And these lilies are a symbol of the woman that has ascended into heaven, the Virgin Mary. And if you look at the top of the picture, you can see the Virgin Mary as she's entered heaven and she's being blessed by her Son, Jesus Christ. Now, kneeling to the left of the apostles below, you see the man who has commissioned this picture for his funerary chapel. His name is Matteo Palmieri, and he was, among other things, an apothecary and a poet. To the right, dressed in black, you can see his wife, Nicolosa, and she's also kneeling in prayer. If you look into the far background of this picture, you can see, indeed, the city of Florence. And you can recognize immediately the dome of the cathedral as it's poking out from the cityscape. But the biggest part of this picture is made up by the opening dome of heaven. And within this heavenly realm, you can see rows and rows of angels interspersed with saints and Old Testament figures. These angels are put into 9 rows and 3 tiers for a reason. Because we believe, at least theologians do, that there's 9 orders of angels. And these exist in a hierarchy. So from the bottom to the top, in the lower tier, we see angels, then we see archangels, and principalities in the top row of the lower tier. In the middle tier, we see powers, virtues, and the so-called dominions. Then, in the top row, encircling the Virgin Mary and Christ, we see thrones, cherubim, and at top level, the very highest rank of angels, seraphim. And these Botticini painted as little floating heads with 6 red wings attached. These are definitely the most abstract angels, if you compare them to the bottom rows, where the angels take on a more human shape. It's the bottom row of angels that we're most familiar with, and these often act as messengers to mankind. One of these messenger angels appears in Fra Filippo Lippi's The Annunciation, also painted in Florence, but in the 1450s. The subject of this picture, the Annunciation, is narrated in the Gospel of Luke in the Christian Bible, and it's the miraculous moment that the Virgin Mary finds out that she would conceive a son. The messenger here is the angel Gabriel, and you see him on the left. If we take a closer look at Gabriel, you can see that he looks like an ordinary boy, a boy who might have been part of Filippo Lippi's painterly workshop. But he's dressed quite elaborately, and what I like most about this picture is the angel's wings. It seems Filippo Lippi had peacock's wings in mind, when he painted Gabriel's wings. Again, Gabriel in this picture is holding a lily, and there's a vase of lilies in the middle, and these again refer to the purity of the Virgin Mary, who is seated on the right. If you look at the top of the picture, you can see these blue clouds with a hand coming out of them. And this is indeed God's hand that is pointing some kind of heavenly message towards the Virgin Mary. And you can see another kind of messenger, the Holy Spirit, in the guise of a dove, approaching the Virgin Mary as she's reading a book. This is quite a miraculous message, of course, and the kind of message that in the painting you would like to have in your family home. This was indeed painted for the powerful and wealthy Medici family in Florence, who hung it in their palazzo above a door. And the presence of angels in a home is of course a very good thing. The next picture I like to look at with you was painted around circa 1500 by the Master of St Giles, and the picture is called the Mass of St Giles. Here we see another messenger angel in action, but this is not Gabriel. If you look at the top left of the picture, you can see the angel coming down, holding a note. So it's holding a physical message. If you get up close to this note, you can actually read it, if you can read Latin, that is. But if you translate it, it says, "By the merit of Giles, remission of sins is granted to Charles." Charles, in this message, is the man with the crown on his head, kneeling next to the altar. This is the Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne. Charlemagne had committed sins that were so bad that he could barely speak them out loud. So when he came to confession with the priest, who is Giles, standing by the altar, St. Giles, that is, he could not even say them out loud. That's how bad they really were. But miraculously, the angel appeared at this exact moment, carrying the message that Charlemagne's sins were forgiven. Another miraculous message, but one that is slightly different. This one seems to be about forgiveness. But if you take a closer look at the Mass of St Giles, you'll start noticing many other angels. These angels are part of the church decoration. On the sculpted golden altarpiece, on top of the altar, in front of Giles, you can see angels flying, holding crowns above saints. In the central panel of this altarpiece, there's also cherubim, floating heads with 4 wings instead of the seraphim's 6 wings. If you look into the far background, you can also see sculpted angels holding candlesticks. And if we look at the arch on the top right, there are angels sculpted, holding censers that were used to burn incense. The next picture I'd like to look at with you is Bartolomé Bermejo's Saint Michael Triumphant over the Devil. The Archangel Michael, painted here, might be one of the most spectacular angels in the National Gallery's collection. Just look at his shiny golden armor, the chainmail painted beautifully underneath, his decorated sword, the gemstones and pearls that are everywhere, and his long bird-like wings. Kneeling to the left of him is the donor of this picture, Antoni Joan, and he was a knight himself. He's looking up from his prayer book as Michael stands on a devil-like creature, and this dragon-like devil represents evil. This is an angel triumphing over evil. The subject was taken from the Christian Bible, from the book of Revelation. And indeed, in Christianity, the devil is believed to be a fallen angel. I think Bermejo references this fact if you look at the wings that are still visible on this dragon-like devil. They seem to be butterfly wings of some sort, and it's another really beautiful detail. I really like the way Bermejo painted this hybrid creature, taking different elements from armor, from animals, and creating something that is truly scary. But luckily, Saint Michael, the angel, is triumphant over this devil. As you might have noticed so far, I really like 15th century pictures, but I would like to conclude with something that was created very recently. These are Brigid Reilly's messengers, and they were painted in the Annenberg Court of the National Gallery in 2019. The title reminds us of the many angels we have already seen, messengers, and one possible interpretation is that Brigid Reilly's coloured discs are indeed that, angels. At least I'd like to think so. They are even more abstract than the highest ranking angels in Botticini's altarpiece that we started with. It's a comforting idea that there's angels, very abstract angels, watching over us as we climb the stairs of the National Gallery's Annenberg Court. Looking at these angels, I have to think of the angels that I know, or the angels that you might know, or had the pleasure to be watching over you, knowingly and sometimes unknowingly. The many key workers, your friends, family members, and neighbors. Angels are everywhere. If you're interested in learning more about art history, please click here or here. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.